Alrighty, friends, we are back. It's your favorite podcast show of the week. This is Location Weekly. We are recording episode number 712, and we're doing so on April the 12th. Rob Woodbridge is with us today, co-hosting, my original founder of this show. How
Oh,
are you, sir?
gee, I'm great. I'm great, man. Thanks for having me back. You keep asking me. I'm going to keep saying yes until
Hey,
somebody says, get him off the air.
no, never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen.
That's right. It'll
So,
just be you and I left, nobody listening. And it'll be like, no way, Rob, you coming back.
yeah, how are you? What's going on?
I'm great. As you said, April 12th, I am in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. It is the capital of the country, despite what most Torontonians feel. But man, we're still under snow. We keep getting hit by snow. This winter will never end. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. My only saving grace is that my Ottawa Senators made the NHL playoffs for the first time in 8 years, and baseball has started. So there's optimism here. Definitely optimism.
Yes, for sure. Well, I'm in Toronto. The Leafs are definitely in the playoffs.
Yes.
But yeah, baseball's been interesting. Like I think if you look at it the way it is today, the American League East, where, you're a Yankees fan, I'm a Jays fan, it's kind of wide open, right? Like anybody can take it now. It doesn't seem like anybody's running away with it.
No
Um,
dominance. Nope.
but it's
Nobody
super
wants
early.
it.
Super early. We'll see where it goes. At least Guerrero's staying in Toronto, so there's that.
For a lifetime. And early on in the season when the Dodgers were 8-0, I got really sick and tired of the LA media contemplating a 162-0 season, because that's literally what they were saying, is that
Yeah.
will this team ever lose? And thank God they
Yeah.
lost.
Oh yeah.
Just put that behind.
I
But
just hope,
Guerrero,
there'll be, a bunch of injuries and yeah, they're
you
going
can
to
only
lose.
hope.
They'll get
But
knocked out
Guerrero
in the
did not go
first
to
round of
LA.
the playoffs. Yeah.
But Guerrero did not go to LA, so that
Um,
is a greatest thing that you could possibly ask for, isn't it?
Obviously, neither of us are Dodger fans, but here we
No,
go.
not at all.
Okay, well, we have four stories we want to walk you through this week, as usual, and I'm going to let Rob start us off with the first one. What do we got?
What is that one? Like start at the bottom and then get better as we go? Is that what we're doing here?
That's what Drake says.
Okay, well, this is where we're going to start. We're going to start with me, and then by the end of the episode, we'll hit our stride. Well,
Okay.
the first story is really about Sunoco and Sheeva, and in particularly their Sheeva Connect platform integration play. This is it. This is where they're putting Sheeva Connect inside of vehicles, obviously with Sheeva Connect, and Sunoco is now welcoming those vehicles with open arms and open wallets to going to pay for your gasoline right from your car. I think we've talked about this kind of stuff for years about how the smart vehicle is going to just roll into a gas station and pay for your gas, and then maybe pay for everybody's gas by accident, and then drive off without ever having to lift your finger or put a card or tap or a wallet or pay cash. So this is going to enable drivers to pay for their fuel directly from their vehicle's dashboard, which is really interesting because like I have dashboard envy with my car. Like I bought mine in 2018, and I have this tiny little screen off to the side, and now I see these vehicles with just the whole dashboard is lit. It gives me technology envy, and now they're going to be able to pay for their gas directly from the dashboard. It's really interesting because there's all of these logistics challenges around it, like what pump am I at? Like, how does it know these things? So this is where the proprietary technology comes in from Shiva Connect, and the idea is to roll this out throughout the rest of this year, and start taking people's money without taking their wallet out of their pocket. Right? Like this is a fascinating, but I mean, I remember talking about this 8 years ago, this exact same thing. So I'm interested to know what makes this different from anything else that we've seen before. Is it just an idea whose time has come? And then I have one question, which is, what about autonomous vehicles, right? What about the Waymos of the world, or even the when I own an autonomous vehicle, is this a relevant importance? And even what about electric cars, electric vehicles? So let's talk about this for a second. What does this mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. super excited about it. I'll say, like, same as you, like, we've been talking about this stuff for a while, and certainly this partnership between Sunoco and Shiva is not the only one. Ford has
Yeah.
Ford Pass with together with ExxonMobil, and they're using Alexa integration there. Alexa's been at this for a while too. Like, they have the Amazon Alexa Auto platform with the Echo Auto system happening. Um, so there's a bunch of different folks doing this. I know Mercedes and MasterCard have teamed up to do some, payments by through your car as well. I mean, for me at the end of the day, okay, yeah, there's some efficiencies there that make sense in this, but don't we still have to get out of the car anyways to pump the gas? Like, right? Like that still has to happen,
Wait,
right?
what?
Is it
Wait, wait,
right?
wait, wait, wait,
Right?
wait,
Like they're
wait,
not
wait.
pumping it for you. So like, yes, you could pay for it, but you still like have to get out to the pump. So like you might as well tap or do something. Like, I don't know. Like it seems like yes, there's some efficiencies there that, it somewhat makes sense. Like to me, if you were going to like a full service gas station, like the old days, this is even better. But right now I still got to get out of the gas and pump my own gas. So it's not really saving me that much, and that's where I'm kind of a little bit challenged, and if you're driving a if it's an autonomous vehicle, like who's pumping the gas? Like that's my question. Um,
Do I still have to go out there? Like, if
yeah,
do I?
right. So I don't know, but yeah, I think from a technology perspective, it makes sense. Like these dashboards are getting smarter. Having these kinds of integrations in there. We've talked about this from not just for paying for your gas, but deals for other things, or
Right. Cross
having it.
marketing.
And I think one thing where I think there is an opportunity is to drive connectivity to purchase things in the convenience store parts of these companies. So like, you pull up to the Sunoco gas station, you pay for the stuff, but you also order, a chocolate bar and, whatever else, that you want to get from the convenience store, which they're trying to drive traffic to in the first place. Like that's their whole point, right? Of having those things there is that you get out of the car, that you go to the convenience store, you're spending money on lottery tickets and cigarettes and chocolate bars and beer and whatever it is you're buying. That's where they're making bigger money, bigger margin, right? So, to me, if they can tie that into what they're offering here, and you can order the stuff and then just walk in and pick it up because it's already paid for, like your Starbucks, then I see some efficiencies.
Like it's a very interesting play. Like, and you start to think about the extensions of this, especially if your vehicle is a wallet. Like, it just sounds so stupid, in all honesty. But like when I say it, it's out loud, it sounds ridiculous because, like, really, like we talk about the operating system. So there's a transaction operating system, and it's built, right? So this platform is built, and then you've got these operating systems that sit in our pocket and now reside in our vehicles, like Car OS for Apple, and you've got Android, the equivalent, and you've got all these different platforms. And what we've seen really quickly is that those car manufacturers that build proprietary environments in their cars don't work. People don't want that. They want their Google Maps, they want their Apple Maps, they want the integration directly with the mobile operating system, so their preferences are there. You don't have to upload your contacts. Remember all that stuff? And
Yeah,
then the enablement happened when these were done. So now the natural transition is to have a payment operating system, which is already on your phone. Like I use, Apple Pay everywhere. I tap and go and tap. So why build an entire, and I know this is Shiva's business model, but like why build an entire model around that when now as a consumer with my vehicle I have to enable another type of payment form when I've already got Apple, or Google built into this system, right? So it's just we run into friction, and it's knowing where your place is in this industry, like like Uber and Lyft, even back in the day, building autonomous vehicles. No, like what are you building autonomous vehicles for? You're the operating system that powers the autonomous vehicles, and I say that about this as well. Like when it comes to transactions, we've already got that stuff built into our pockets,
yeah,
our watches, and so why create friction by having something that you need that's only going to be working at Sunoco's? And then if I go to a different, I know maybe there's brand alliance, but it's gas, right? It's like
yeah,
the cheapest gas is where you go. And so that's where this thing kind of falls apart a little bit, where if you're not going to be the de facto payment platform for everything, Like I don't want nine different payments. I don't have to think. I just pump the gas. I go into my car. I'm like, oh, what am I paying with? Oh, tap, because it comes out of my
Right.
bank account.
Yeah.
That's mine. Rant
There you
over,
go.
buddy.
Rant over. All right, let's move on to our second story now. So, coming back to Canada here now, one of our beloved franchise chains, Mary Brown's Chicken, has had a bit of a hiccup in their operations. So, approximately 300 of their locations across Canada, where they had deployed digital menu boards and screens, media network essentially, have been hacked and have been taken over. The screens have been taken over with pro-Palestinian messages, including "Stand for Humanity" and "Stand for Palestine." This is both inside the restaurants and on the drive-through screens. And I think the reason I wanted to kind of bring this story up this week is that Aubriana and I in particular over the last while have been talking a lot about the growth of retail media networks. Essentially, every retailer, every chain out there now, has been building these media networks and trying to, work with, both their own promoting their own products, um, but also, enabling third parties to run ads on these networks and generating revenue from that. And I think what this story says to me is that yes, everybody needs to have these screen networks in their stores. It's kind of what's expected, what consumers are looking for, but it does point to the vulnerabilities that are there, right? In this, if you don't have the right security on these things, and I mean, this was stupid. Like they literally the password to access the system was password. Like nobody thought, like we need to change this thing, we need to make this more secure. Like it wasn't hard to get into this thing. So, it's one thing to have these networks, but you need to make sure they're secure. Like you're playing with fire in terms of, your brand reputation, disruptions to your business, having to scramble to figure out how you're going to resolve these kinds of things and get back to, operating in a normal way. And I think from a consumer perspective too, like especially with the kind of content that was, the takeover that happened here, that's, so political, whether you're, for or against it, there's potentially, a loss of trust in that brand, and people might think twice about, eating at Mary Brown's and going to, somewhere else. So there's a lot of risk in this, and I think that if you're going to have these networks, you need to make sure that you're uh, you're building them and architecting them in a way that you're protecting yourselves and your business. So, any thoughts from you?
Well, you like I was going to crack a joke about the password because it just seems basic, but I just want to write this down. So like when you're out there in the real world and you're concerned about privacy and making sure that you don't get hacked like this. Rule number one is what? What was that again? Don't. I just want to write this down. Don't set your password as password, right? Like
Yeah,
that's rule number one. And I think rule number two is obviously then don't take your password and put it on a sticky note and put it on the monitor in front of the cash register as well, because those are two things that those aren't hacks. That's just a lax, we'll call it, in the brain. And this is an incredible thing to actually have publicized. Um,
right.
it's pretty unbelievable that they actually this actually came out and came to light as a hack. That's like leaving your car running with the keys at the airport, or leaving your bike at a Canadian Tire unlocked, your $2,000 bike. Like that's just that's just human problems. That's just human problems.
Yeah.
But it is something. I often wonder about that. And did they ever catch the person who did this, the 9-year-old that hacked
I don't
this
know. I didn't hear
Mary
anything
Brown's?
about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, pro-Palestinian. It's you cannot avoid anything political these days. That is for sure.
Nope.
Password.
That is for sure. All right. Moving
Well,
on.
moving on from the embarrassment to the. This is an interesting one, and you're going to have to explain this to me, okay? And see, because when I think of competitors, especially in the not the retail space, but the grocery space and the food space and the delivery space, I think of in one corner Uber and Uber Eats and the Uber monolith, and then I think of Instacart, and I think of the two of them jockeying for positioning in especially groceries. Uber obviously went into groceries. Instacart was built in groceries, with maybe somewhat different models, but ultimately it ends up being the same for the customer, because either in traditional models with Instacart, it's their employees or their contractors going out and filling the cart, but in Uber and with groceries, it'll be the grocery stores that do it predominantly. But so this announcement is that Uber is going to be leveraging Instagram's what do they call this? The Instagram's carrot ad solution to target shoppers on Uber Eats and the groceries. It combines Uber's reach across, obviously, they're like a dominant player across their mobility and delivery, with Instacart's grocery retail network. This is a pretty substantial play here, I would say, because like there's a tremendous volume of activity here. 150 million plus monthly active Uber users, plus Instacart's user base to target consumers precisely across their purchase journey. Like this is huge, and some of the biggest brands are obviously on both sides of this, and they're participating in early testing, including Pepsi and Nestle and Unilever. And the outcome has been, as a result of this partnership, a huge increase in brand awareness. I'm not sure, I didn't see any numbers on impact, but it's a pretty powerful new advertising alternative that combines Uber's transportation, their delivery network, their data, and Instagram's grocery insights. So, but I guess the big question is, there's got to be a benefit for both here,
Mhm.
but the data is got to be what we're looking at here, because why would these companies team up so closely?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's, coming back to the last story as well. The whole retail media space is it's booming, right? So I think that, Uber has said they really want to grow their advertising business. And, Instacart, obviously has a lead in that space in terms of what they've been doing. And so, from a time to market point of view, I look at it and I say, well, they're both going after the same advertisers, whether it's Pepsi or,
Yep.
Nestle or whoever. And if I'm the advertiser, I'm like, well, I'd rather have a consolidated flow of my ads, into one market, not a fragmented campaign. So a joint platform for me from a media buying perspective makes sense to me, right? So I see some efficiencies there from the advertiser's perspective. So I think there's benefits there. And I think the other thing too is to think about, like, Uber isn't, they're not sharing their orders with Instacart. They're just
Right.
sharing ad inventory, right? So
Yeah.
I think if there's a revenue boost for everybody here, it kind of makes sense. And it's not like the only one too, right? Like, I mean, you could look and say in some respects, kind of what Walmart is what did with, the Roku, partnership is kind of similar, right? In
Yeah.
some respects. Um,
But they're like Roku and Walmart. They're not
they're
like
not direct, yeah.
fighting for the same customer, right? Like that's, and I get it. But what's interesting about this is that Instacart is the one who governs this. So you're going through your Instacart account in order to be able to set up the ads to display, and this is very much, this has got to be a shift that the industry is seeing away from traditional search engine ads, right? Like Google ads as well. Like this has got to be people realizing that certainly AI and ChatGPT and Anthropic and certainly any AI powered search tool is taking, and even Google now is taking away revenue from their ad business and the effectiveness of the ads through search now. And so this is their answer. This is the next network that they're trying to figure out if it works or not. It is
Yeah.
pretty powerful if it can work. for Instacart. Like that's what I'm thinking. This is
It speaks to the bigger trend, right? Like the media network trend right now is like even Brianna and I did a story, I don't know, a couple months ago on Best Buy's media network,
yeah.
and they are now like, it was for the first little while, let's run ads for companies whose products we sell in Best Buy, but they've opened it up to non-endemic product now. So it's like even if your product isn't available in Best Buy, you can advertise on this network. Like it's right.
We have come so far, buddy, since those days when Best Buy wouldn't let you scan or take photos. Remember, I
Yeah.
mean, what is you go to the Pottery Barn and take a photo and you get thrown out because they didn't want you to do any price
Oh,
comparisons
I
or
know. I
remember
know.
those days where you couldn't do any of that stuff. And now it's like, oh, whatever. Ads, competition, even if we don't sell it here, I don't care. It's
It
just
doesn't
money.
matter. Yeah, it's just money. Yeah. So
So what are these warehouses like? It's just so funny. Like you're selling the same thing, which is traffic, right? That's all you're selling, right? And you don't care if you sell an Apple Watch in there as long as you get the impression because somebody else is selling something that isn't in your store. It is, this is a wild world that we're living in here. And it just
yeah.
shows you where the power is. No matter what we do, innovation wise, we're building rockets, reusable rockets that are going to the moon. We're doing all of this stuff. And it comes down to everybody's clamoring for the same dollar in advertising. It's just the same business model from the early days of newspapers to where we are right now. Nothing's changed.
There you go. Well, maybe something's changed in our next story. Let's see.
Let's go.
Philip Zaidi has created a new hotel. It's opening in Las Vegas this July, coming, and it's called the Otonomous Hotel, which is spelled Otonomus. Just to make sure that you're not spelling it autonomous. But yes, Autonomous Hotel. So that he's building this as a AI powered hotel, where they're taking sort of the best of Airbnb and the way Airbnb recommendations work and sort of the style of, people going to, places and events and booking, a house or something where, you can stay with three or four people, all together, which, I've done going to conferences with company teams and things like that, and kind of building that into, a hotel environment and using AI to sort of back this. So they're using AI in their booking engine. Guests can reserve up to 6 interconnected rooms with AI assigning and unlocking rooms to create personalized multi-bedroom suites.
Hmm.
They are doing attribute-based selling. So the booking system allows guests to customize their stay. You can select preferences such as housekeeping, frequency, noise levels, pre-ordering amenities like groceries or
I'll take
pet
the room with
supplies.
all the noise, please.
Yeah,
Nearest to the highway.
right by the elevator and the ice machine. That's where I want to be.
And two doors
Um,
down from the smoking section, please, because that's exactly
yeah,
what I want.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and then they do some personalized onboarding. So they're using AI here to gather guest preferences through social media data and interactive games, creating a digital twin of the guest to tailor services and recommendations. So there's a lot going on here. You know, I'll say this. I mean, I'm not, I don't think like as a guest, I don't need this sort of level of personalization per se, but I do think there is something to the idea of, sort of group bookings, with, an interconnected social environment, but in a hotel setting. I like the idea of that. I like the concept of that. Um, so I think it makes sense. I think the sort of convenience of the automated check-in and smart room assignment and those pieces, I think there's some value there. But at the end of the day, we're talking about the first AI powered hotel.
What does that mean?
What does that
Still
mean?
don't
It's a
make sense.
cool novelty thing to say, and that I went there and I stayed there. Like I went and saw the Sphere while I was there, and then
Yeah.
stayed at the Autonomous. Okay, so maybe there's something there. I think the downside of this is, if we're building digital twins of people from a social media perspective, there might be some privacy issues to think about or concerns.
Slightly.
There's there's also a factor of, do we actually want all this tech in a hospitality environment, or do we just want to chill out and relax? Like, is there an overload or fatigue factor? That from a tech perspective that we might want to consider. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts. What do you think?
Well, like you attach AI to anything these days, and the value of it goes up. And so I'm interested to know what like how much it costs to stay in an AI powered hotel. I just can't understand what an AI powered hotel would be. Is it something that I get into an argument with, and I don't eventually get an answer to my question? Or is it something that is just overblown? Um,
Yeah.
because most of the AI here we're talking about is that it is not to the benefit of the person staying there. It should be optimizing the flow and the back end stuff around the hotel. Like that's really was. But like I read somewhere that they had an in-house team of 50 engineers to make this work. I'm like, isn't it just better to have 10 good concierge people like Mechanical Turk this thing and not spend all that money on 50 engineers? Like, so what's the long gain here for
Well, is there a
a
chain that
hotel?
they're building, right? Maybe. I
Yeah.
mean, that's right.
Well,
I don't know.
I like the idea. Like, think about this as like it's just operating systems. Like, your calendar is your operating system. We just talked about these devices that we have on our like the iOS and Android. These are operating systems of our lives right now, and they're getting more and more entrenched in our lives. And so I alluded to it. Like, why aren't Lyft and Uber just either building the autonomous operating system? Or tying into an autonomous operating system. The same thing here. Like if this is a prototypical hotel and they're just doing one hotel, but they're building an operating system, an AI enabled operating system for hotels, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But the story there is not so much on the consumer side. It's very much on the how do you leverage AI in a hotel environment to reduce your costs, reduce the cost of the hotel, create efficiencies, reduce the burn, which means reduce the number of people, but really do it in a smart way. And that I'm all for. I'm all not the people part, but the reducing inefficiencies through AI.
Mhm.
But I like unless I'm actually talking with my avatar and we're having a conversation and it's a hologram or a holodeck, I'm not really sure how this helps.
There you go. You heard it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Wait, was there a good story here that I liked?
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't. No, maybe not.
Just
Maybe
trying to
not this week. Maybe not this
think.
week. So
No, Yankees aren't. Oh no, the Senators are in the playoffs.
we'll work on it. We'll work on
Yeah.
it for
No,
the
I
next one.
love these stories simply
Yeah.
because this is the bleeding edge, right? And if you don't know what's going on, how do you build your business? And if you don't know what you shouldn't do, you could end up in the same spot as the autonomous hotel.
There you go. All right. Well, before we wrap completely, I do also want to remind our listeners and viewers that Retail Loco, our LBMA conference, is just around the corner, April 29th in Chicago this year. And yeah, we're excited about it. It's not too late to get involved. We'd love to see you there. Rob's company, his CEO Alok will be of Trek City will be speaking on the Last Mile panel. We have lots of other great speakers from TomTom, from Vistar Media, from Outfront. The closing keynote will be delivered by Michelle Paczynski, who's the former chief digital officer and head of the venture capital team for Alta Beauty. Yeah, lots to take in. So hope you can make it April 29th in Chicago, and yeah, we'll see you there. But until then, thank you for listening and watching. We'll be back next week with another show, but we appreciate your time. Take care,
Thanks for
everybody.
having me for the last time, I assume.
Yeah, never. Okay. All right. Bye.